Good evening and welcome to the evening news for today, Monday, February 22nd, 2021. I'm Delaware Dash. Thank you for tuning in. Now, let's take a look at some of the lead stories tonight. Fiery exchanges mark day one of 2021 budget debates. Sahara dust haze increasing over Guyana could be hazardous, Hydromet warns. Bartic man remanded for helping Mazaruni escapees. Man dies after being slashed the throat by cousin during birthday party. And over 1,800 persons receive first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. And now for the news in detail. It was a fiery start to day one of the debates on the recently presented estimates for the $383.1 billion 2021 budget, with the government and opposition members threading barbs on policies and plans for the year ahead. Jal Bryan joins us from the Artichon Conference Center, where the National Assembly is currently being held, with the details.
Day one of debates on the 2021 budget saw spirited discussions from either side, discussions which at times veered away from the actual budget. For instance, opposition Member of Parliament Amansu Walton Desir was critical of the $25,000 cash grant which started last year. According to her, the checks and balances implemented for the program are resulting in persons not getting their grants.
What you have happening is that into the context of this 25,000 cash grant relief, a lot of requirements are being imposed. You got to present transport, you got to present utility bills, you got to present agreement of rental.
Meanwhile, Minister of Labour Joseph Hamilton spoke about some of the initiatives his ministry has been implementing. This includes the expansion of the occupational health and safety officers, the revision of laws in the context of oil and gas, and language training for officers.
Today, the Board of Industrial Training and its programs will be expanded to every region to the length and breadth of Guyana. Never before it has happened. We have already appointed Board of Industrial Training officers to every region in this country. We hope to train 3,500 persons through the length and breadth of this country in the next year. This year, we will ensure that in every region, first time in the history of this country, we will have occupation, safety, and health officers placed in all regions in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. To supervise the work of people.
However, the debate took a different turn when government MP Dr. Vishwa Mahadio started to bash the previous government for its handling of the health sector. He presented a peculiar device to prove his point.
The Rehabilitation Department of the Ministry of Health, this time centrally, in around 2017, requested a piece of equipment to assist with persons having lung problems, Mr. Speaker. That piece of equipment can be used for persons who are in bed, like stroke patients, patients who got head injuries, and who are having problems with their lungs. The request was made, medically correct name for a medicinal chest vibrator, a vibrating machine equipment that is placed flat on the chest of the patient to stimulate the lungs. Then, the then Ministry of Public Health bought, Mr. Speaker, bought this, a vibrating dildo for the department to use.
A total of 14 speakers were placed on the lineup for day one of the budget debates, which will continue for the rest of the week. Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh presented a $383.1 billion budget for this year. This is the Dr. Irfan Ali-led government's first full-term budget since assuming office in August 2020. Jal Bryan, The Evening News.
President Dr. Irfan Ali on Monday administered the oath of office to the chairman and vice chairman of Region 8, Pataro Superuni, the final officials that were awaiting their official instruments. He took the opportunity to announce a flurry of plans which the region can expect to benefit from in the coming future to foster economic growth. Here are the details from Rupa Sionarain.
The newly elected chairman for Region 8 is Hedley Pio, while Clarice Francisco will serve as his vice chairperson at the regional organ. They were not sworn in last year with the other 9 regions owing to challenges from the COVID-19 pandemic. Giving his remarks during a simple ceremony, the head of state announced a series of investments that will be made to develop the healthcare and education systems in the region, with special attention on sustainability.
We will be working closely to ensure that we build sustainable communities through sustainable livelihood programs and sustainable employment opportunities. We also want to engage the region in the diversification of its localized economy, with particular attention to food security and agriculture. I've already announced that our development trajectory will be based on an expanded low-carbon development strategy. Therefore, Region 8 will continue to play a pivotal role in the advancement of this strategy and also as a core component of national development.
One inhibitor of economic development in the region has always been the air travel expenses to leave and enter the area. As such, President Ali said this is another issue which government is looking to alleviate.
Access to many of the communities within this region is very expensive. It requires air travel, and as such, the cost of transportation is an inhibitive factor in terms of regional development. So we're also working on greater investment to bring ease in the transportation network and ultimately to reduce the costs of transport within the region itself.
Rupa Sinarayan, The Evening News.
After starting with a good run, the Giftland Mall's supply of electricity to the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated was disrupted after a surge in power blew its turbocharger. The company is now in the process of executing repairs with a view of recommencing the supply of power to the national utility company within 6 to 8 weeks. Here's Rupa Sinarayan again with details.
Giftland started to supply the GPL grid with electricity in October 2020. The company has a system that produces 6.7 megawatts of electricity. However, it only uses 1.6 megawatts during prime operations at the Giftland Mall. As such, government tapped into the excess power supply to boost the capacity of the GPL grid, which currently has a generating capacity of 155 megawatts. However, in December 2020, the company's equipment suffered some damages.
We had a bit of an accident where they had a feedback to our turbocharger and they blew our turbocharger from the grid. So right now we're waiting for the new turbocharger to come in so that we could start resupplying the grid. They had a voltage surge on the line, and we have 3 feedback fail-safes to protect our equipment, and all 3 failed. It's unfortunate. So we're trying to work out to make sure that doesn't happen again, and we hope to be back up within another 6 to 8 weeks from now.
The businessman explained that though the damage is not the company's fault, Giftland will be standing all expenses to execute the repairs. PUT, when asked, could not say how much power Giftland had supplied to the grid since it started to supply electricity in October to December before the system went down. As it is, GPL only takes power from Giftland's supply according to what it needs. But the Giftland chairman is confident that once the system is back up, its supply of power to the GPL grid would increase, given the massive transformation Guyana's economy is embarking on. According to the agreement between government and Giftland, an average of $46,000 will be paid per month for power from Giftland. This would translate to some $9.9 million per month while GPL will additionally be paying for fuel at around $25.6 million per month. In total, this would work out to approximately $35.5.
The Guyana-Suriname Ferry service recommenced on Sunday with one return trip between the two neighboring countries, where some 8 Guyanese were finally able to return home. The recommencement of the service follows months of closures due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The service, however, is only open to residents of the two countries. Our Babari's correspondent Andrew Carmichael reports.
The ferry left Port Molson Creek in Guyana at 9 hours for South Drain, Suriname, and returned at 12 hours. Among those who departed was Niles Roberts, a Guyanese who resides on the east coast of Demerara, who was on his way to French Guyana. He had been home since November 2019.
I'm feeling comfortable because since the pandemic I need to go to Suriname and reach my family, and I just take the opportunity now as I get it, and I feel comfortable.
Was it difficult to get your COVID-19 test done?
No, it was easily done.
You Guyanese?
No, sorry.
So how long have you been here?
Huh?
How long have you been in Guyana?
I don't want to be on the interview.
Meanwhile, Public Works Minister Gwan Ejel, who was on hand at the Molson Creek port to see the first set of passengers depart and was also there to welcome the first set of arrivals, told Evening News that several instruments were put in place to see the reopening of the service. He said the Ministries of Public Work and Health collaborated to ensure that Guyanese in Suriname know where they can get the approved COVID-19 test done. Those tests are available both at the private facilities and also at the public hospitals.
Here at Molson Creek, one private sector provider is here, the Port Health Authority is here, the Ministry of Health staff is here to ensure that there is strict compliance, and the Ministry of Health has been very cooperative, and I think there's a culture of facilitating. We have not met the obstructionist approach, we've only had a facilitating approach, and that speaks well for all the parties concerned.
With the ferry service being closed for a majority of last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there was an upsurge in the use of illegal means traveling between the two countries. That is, the backtrack route. Only recently, 2 persons drowned and a 3rd person is missing after attempting to use the backtrack to get from Suriname to Guyana. Minister Ejel debunked rumors that a reopening of the ferry service was as a result of that incident.
As far as we're concerned as a government, apart from providing this service, the next legal crossing will be the quarantine bridge that we're advancing between Guyana and Suriname.
Meanwhile, some of those who arrived in Guyana were seeking a vacation. Denzel Wilson came to Guyana for a vacation. According to him, he needed a break from Suriname and is looking forward for some good Guyanese food.
We're just coming from a total lockdown in Suriname, so we're free now this weekend, come have a little vacation, coming to eat some Guyanese food.
What were you doing in Suriname?
I normally go and work.
How long were you over there?
November 2019.
And what happened?
Due to the COVID, the ferry stopped. And we had to wait until the other opening.
Were you working over there?
For the time, no. During the COVID.
How you make out, buddy?
Yeah, some help from family overseas.
Anita, if this was not working, this service, what you just came on, if it wasn't working, how would you have gotten over here for this funeral?
Oh, we were trying to get a flight, but it didn't work out, so I'm very happy that this started working. So of course we were trying to get a private flight over here, but it was too expensive.
The service will operate twice weekly on Sundays, Wednesdays and Fridays with 1 trip on those days. For Evening News, Andrew Carmichael.
A large plume of Sahara dust is affecting the Caribbean region and will continue for the next 3 days, possibly reducing visibility and affecting air quality. In an urgent statement issued today, the Hydromet office explained that the dust can be hazardous due to reduced visibility, while dust particles can exacerbate the symptoms of respiratory illnesses and allergies. Sahara dust is known to cause eye, nose, and throat irritation. In addition to the already dry atmosphere, the Sahara dust haze is forecast to reduce visibility to between 4 and 6 kilometers, or in some places, it can become progressively thicker, reducing visibility even further. The general public, aviation and marine users are asked to be very cautious and prepare to take mitigative action if need be, as a significant reduction in visibility is either likely or already occurring. Persons with respiratory illnesses or allergies should ensure that they travel with or have close at hand all prescribed medications. The Hydromet office said aviation, marine and road users should monitor the situation closely, along with the forecast for any further deteriorations. Coming up, Bartika man remanded for helping Mazaruni escapees. Man confesses to killing housemate, dumping body in septic tank, and over 1,800 persons receive first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. You're watching the evening news. A 60-year-old man who is the father of one of the 4 criminals who escaped from the Mazaruni prison last week was today remanded to prison for helping the fugitives. In this Fiona Morrison report, you will hear that the man, through his attorneys, told the court that he only helped the escapees because he was fearful for his life. Here are the details.
Ralph Jones, a boat captain of 114 4th Avenue, Bartika, was arraigned before Magistrate Crystal Lambert at the Vredenhoek Magistrates Court. He was not required to plead to the indictable charges, which stated that on February 16, 2021, at the above-mentioned address, he received, harbored, maintained, and comforted his son, Rayon Jones, Imran Ramsewak, Kenrick Light, and Samuel Gavaya, knowing very well that they were convicted prisoners who escaped from the Mazaruni prison. Through his lawyer Adrian Thompson, Ralph Jones told the court that he only assisted the escapees because he was fearful for his life. The prosecution made serious objections to the accused being released on bail. These objections were upheld by the magistrate, who remanded him to prison until March 5, 2021. The Guyana Prison Service had explained that at about 7:15 hours on Tuesday, February 16, 2021, during the unlocking of the brick prison, also known as the Solitary Division, which was supervised by 5 prison officers, it was observed that the padlock to the entrance gate was tampered with, and further checks revealed that 2 bars within the cell had been cut. Checks were made and the convicted prisoners were nowhere to be found. Police headquarters in a statement had said that Ralph Jones admitted that all 4 of the escapees showed up at his house, where he provided each of them with a change of clothing. He collected the clothes that they were wearing and dumped them in the alleyway aback his house in 4th Avenue, Bartika. Ramsewak and Light were on death row, while Gavaya and Jones were convicted for manslaughter. Up to news time, the prisoners remained at large. Fiona Morrison, The Evening News.
A 25-year-old fisherman is now dead after his throat was slit by his cousin during a birthday celebration on Sunday at the Edwards Village, West Bank, Berbice. Here's our Berbice correspondent, Andrew Carmichael, with that story.
The dead man has been identified as 25-year-old Riaz Mohammed, called Boy, a fisherman of Lot 1, Section D, the Edward, West Coast, Berbice. Police say the incident occurred just about 18 hours 30 on Sunday. Investigations have so far revealed that the family was celebrating a birthday on Saturday and then resumed the party on Sunday. Mohammed reportedly became disorderly when the music was taken off and started breaking the drinking glasses. His father, Farouk Mohammed, attempted to calm him down, but the dead man instead directed his anger at his father. His uncle then intervened, and they attempted to restrain the younger Mohammed. At that point, he continued his unruly behavior, resulting in his cousin whipping out a knife and slitting his throat. The dead man's sister explained that her brother was not pleased at the fact that the celebrations were coming to an end.
I don't have the current yet, and they just run a light in because I have stuff in there. And so I told one of the cousins that as he enjoyed here, he alone left back because everybody else went home. So I told him to left him to enjoy a little more, and when the place get dark, just cut off the music and let the light go on. But apparently, like, he didn't want the music to cut off at the set time. So like they had an argument, and my father and him had a scramble or something, and then I got a phone call that he's bleeding. And I come home and I just saw him lying there. But just that, you know, he liked music. He loved his music and drinking when he's partying. He loved to dance. And apparently that the music got him into all of this.
Police were summoned and they took the man to the Fort Wellington Hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Mohammed was a father of 2. Police say the suspect is currently on the run and the police are on the hunt for him. Investigations are ongoing. For the Evening News, Andrew Carmichael.
A farmer was on Sunday crushed to death by a water pump he was operating at his back dam located at Esau and Jacob Maikoni, East Coast Demerara. The dead man has been identified as 51-year-old Sigabin Passad, a rice farmer of Mortis, Maikoni, East Coast Demerara, Region 5. The Evening News understands that Prasad would normally pump water into his farmland with a water pump attached to a tractor. He was seen going into the rice field on Sunday. However, at around 15 hours, his son went to check on the man, but instead found his dismembered body. The son raised an alarm and the police were contacted. The severely injured man was taken to the Maikoni Cottage Hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. An investigation has been launched into the incident. We now tell you that a 60-year-old man is now dead while another is seriously injured following an accident which occurred on Saturday evening along the Dora Public Road, Soosdijk-Linden Highway. The dead man has been identified as Marvin Andrew Madu of Independence Boulevard, La Penitence, Georgetown. The injured person, Shorin Rodius, is said to be hospitalized in the critical condition. At about 20 hours on the day in question, a motor pickup was stationary at the western side of the Dora Public Road whilst transferring goods to another vehicle when the driver of the speeding motor lorry allegedly lost control and collided with one of the pickups. It was reported that the right side front of the lorry collided with the right side front of the pickup, which then collided with Madu and Rodius, both of whom were standing between the two vehicles. Madu was taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival, whilst Rodius was rushed to the Linden Hospital complex where he was admitted as a patient. Following the accident, a breathalyzer test was conducted on the driver of the truck and he was found to be below the legal limit of alcohol. He was nevertheless taken into police custody. Hours after he was arrested for the murder of Colin King, whose body was found in a septic tank at Belwest, West Bank, Demerara, Fazal Mohammed Ibrahim has confessed to the heinous crime. This was confirmed by Crime Chief Wendell Blano, who stated that the suspect had accused the now-dead man of having a relationship with his wife. King was discovered on Saturday with chopped wounds to his head in a septic tank at 2nd Street, Belwest, West Bank, Demerara. He would have celebrated his 33rd birthday just a few days prior to the gruesome discovery. The Evening News understands that after the birthday celebration, the suspect and the now-dead man had an argument over the accusation. This reportedly turned into a scuffle between the two men, during which the suspect armed himself with a piece of steel and dealt King several blows to his head. Abraham told detectives that after realizing that the man was dead, he took the body and dumped it in a septic tank. He then left the house with the now-dead man's motorcycle, which he later pawned for $40,000. A file has been sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions for legal advice. It has been over 1 week since frontline workers started receiving their vaccines, and Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony said on Monday that over 1,800 persons have come forward to receive their shots. Here are the details.
Thus far, over 1,800 persons have been administered with their first COVID-19 dose from all regions, with the exception of regions 8 and 9.
As of today, we have given out 1,852 vaccines to different persons, and we have done so in all regions excepting 8 and 9. But we have a team that is going into those communities during this week. So we will be able to cover all the regions with the healthcare workers that are directly working with COVID patients.
This batch from the Barbadian government was set aside to vaccinate healthcare workers, while the remainder went to workers at the CARICOM Secretariat in Guyana. The entire tranche will be used as a first dose, and the incoming AstraZeneca vaccines from another batch will be used to supply the second shot. This is since the time interval between the two injections is roughly 12 weeks, allowing enough time until more vaccines arrive.
We are expecting more AstraZeneca vaccine, and because the time interval between the first and second dose, we can go up to 12 weeks. So we would get the AstraZeneca vaccine coming in, and so we'll be able to give those persons who got the first dose their second dose with the next batch that is coming.
Meanwhile, the health minister also sought to address recent reports where a vaccine was administered to a person who was not a frontline worker. He said an investigation is in full swing to take action and prevent any such breach in the future.
There had been some leakages of our vaccine, and we have an investigation that is ongoing to find out how it is that that person who came in and got a vaccine who is not a frontline worker. That's a total breach of the protocols, because the first set of people that we want to get vaccines are those who are most at risk. And therefore we have to investigate and see why this breach occurred, and to make sure that we correct for it so that no future breaches like this would ever occur again.
The health ministry has informed of another death from the coronavirus, taking the death toll to 190. On Sunday, a 63-year-old man from Region 4 who had tested positive succumbed while receiving treatment at a medical facility. Moreover, the country has seen 7 new cases in one day, and the total number of confirmed cases in the country is now 8,427. There are 465 active cases, 8 in the designated intensive care unit, 415 in home isolation, and 41 in institutional isolation. Another 8 persons are also in institutional quarantine. Rupa Sinarain, The Evening News.
And now for a look at the bridge report.